Please excuse my appearance. This is always an affront to ego and self's limitations. So, I want to talk about what I've been observing and that I like to see. And that is, there seems to be, and has been like for a while, I suppose, a pretty like gradual and sudden, if that makes sense. Gradual but strongly um, increasing desire in mankind to betterment all around. And it's on the extreme ends of the credibility that we value most, which I mean of self, of ego, of pride, of confidence, of intelligence with the mind, and command of their realities. We highly respect and admire and listen to and value the thoughts and opinions of people who have shown and proven very strong traits of having a good hold of themselves, of their ego, their mind, their will, like having a good hold of every aspect and making a life for themselves, developing their career, developing their mind, making breakthroughs, really excelling in their field, whether it's intellectual, in the whatever it is, or in the creative, in the artists, in the musicians, the entertainers, the extroverted people pleasers, and witty, sharp comedians. You have obviously all different types of people, but no matter where people excel at, that is their strengths. And the world largely seems to admire a large spectrum of successful people, what we deem as success. But no matter what your natural archetype is, whether you see yourself as an artist or a scientist, is ego is the thing that ties everyone together in these societies that we've built. We are so very self-centered. We are so egocentric. The whole concept of self is crowned on top of our experience. We all acknowledge this, but I guess for the most part, we haven't put our finger on it and gone unanimously yes when you put it in words like self and ego is an aspect and blah, blah, blah. And then you really are able to see it within yourself and you say, yeah, ego is such a big deal. Like, I give so much value and credit to ego, and I let ego in me hold me back. It holds me back from just doing simple actions like this, picking up a camera, even though I look awful and I feel self-conscious and I don't want to do it. But yet I feel this compulsion because there's so much truth in moment-to-moment experiences, whether they're a novel thought that came from inspiration or whether you're doing something and you have a eureka moment, whatever kind of profound thing that you have now observed within you, it seems like your mind is, if you're like me and a visionary and a creative thinker, your mind is constantly weaving all these stories through understanding. It's connecting so many things. Your brain works way faster than you have the capacity to comprehend and put it into language, never mind, document it somehow. So this whole process is reiterating how my personal experiences has been that I acknowledge these things called aspects, and I acknowledge the limitations and still the hold that my aspect of self and ego have on my actions or my choices. And what it comes down to is it stops me from um, giving my best value, if that comes across to you or not, because I often feel foolish when I think, oh, this is amazing, this is amazing, and I'm having high mind activity, and I see evidence of my thoughts, and vice versa. Like when I'm watching videos from Diary of a CEO, and I'm watching all of these incredible, like, masters in their field, top people, celebrities to accredited members of society, and they're all coming forth, and they're all telling their really profound, like, eureka moments. And if they're in the realm of the sciences and retrospective intelligence, and we highly regard academia, we highly regard science, we highly regard masters of ego mind or self mind, and we don't value as much high mind, for example, because we haven't seen enough evidence of, first of all, what the hell is a high mind, and second of all, people who have found that balance and made it a success for themselves in a high mind state that is known to society, that we're able to identify that and go, oh, that's incredible value, as much as the concept of valuing ego mind. And I want to really get into this because that side, that left hemisphere side, high mind as opposed to ego mind, is the place that we need to cultivate the most. And I think that with people from all walks of life, they are having more high mind states, flow states, when you're in the zone, right? And I'm not talking about physical activities here, that will be high body state. But in the high mind state, the creative thinking state, the universe seems to be giving you all the answers in a like piece by piece, and you're just lapping that up all inside your mind, obviously, because that's the way that we receive inspiration, and through action we're making discoveries. And we're doing all of that in a high state, whether it doesn't matter how we got there. But I believe that we're all doing that in a high state, because from what I see, I feel exactly the same, I imagine, as how other people feel when they have these moments of genius inspiration. And you ride your life along that flow, along that zone, long enough, and you actually apply yourself using will. And if your pride or your ego or your self-consciousness or whatever it is, if a sense of self in you stops you from doing and enacting the things you want to naturally just do, gravitate towards, within a high state, then you are really denying yourself your best self, your true, like, authentic self, when you're in a higher energetic state. And that can be from being in love, that can be from intense exercise, that can be from practiced gratitude and meditation and mindfulness, focusing on your physical health, your mental health, focusing on betterment. And so we come full circle. Those who are becoming warriors in their own rights, in their own fields, with their own, incredible insights, and they want to share it to the world, all under the name of betterment. And I'm definitely on that course for myself. I want to better myself. I want to understand myself. And in the process, I feel like it is going to be really important to document all this nonsense, because once I like process through it and pick apart and understand and really listen and go, oh, I mean, I've been hearing it for years, but not really listening, not really understanding. Like I'm limited, I have to process things. We have to process things. We have to keep waking up and re-waking up and re-waking up. And that's the journey of like reawakening awareness over and over. We reawaken to new layers of understanding, new layers of consciousness, if we tune into a more balanced frequency. So if we tune into the higher frequency more rather than the lower frequencies, and I'm sure that doesn't mean much to you now, but yeah, I can see signs, and I believe that, like what Brandon Sanderson writes in his Stormlight Archive novel, the Night's Radiant, as he puts it. So it's, I love those books. I'm just using that terminology for the fans. It does seem like the Night's Radiant is a real thing, and I mentioned it in a previous vlog, but, it metaphorically. But that is one way to say, yeah, there are superheroes coming alive, like coming to the forefront and being brave enough to reveal themselves. And I'm, not being literal here, but in a way, yeah, people have been like, there's been a surgence or a resurgence of superhero types, leader types, warriors, whatever trendy word you want to label it, but it's the individual who excels beyond their like perceived or expected capabilities in whatever field. And if they're outside of the field of the thing that we crown on top, which is, it's got like, you can do whatever you want, but as long as you are acceptable for our standards of self and our standards of ego, in this self-centered world, then that's cool. Then we'll give you credit and we'll respect you and we'll give you your honors. But if you show too many signs of being outside of your ego and outside of yourself, and you show signs of other, I don't know, forms of judgment without truly understanding, without truly listening, and, sitting down and maybe you'll learn something kind of moment. I think as a society and as individuals too, we need to spend more time like really, first of all, identifying these concepts within us, but also when you see it out in the world, it helps you to just be more zen and be more open-minded. You are watching the internal mechanisms that usually have an automatic effect. They take over you, you are triggered, you become unconscious, and you say and do things that you wouldn't normally mean. That happens. We know that happens. We turn unconscious. We have triggers and traumas, and that's all linked to self. That's the whole self journey. That's why mental health is so incredibly important these days, is because we're completely enthralled in ourselves, collectively and individually. So that's why it's a big deal. And the more that we venture into it, the more society as a whole is like, oh, okay, I get it now. I get it now. This is a big deal. And we need to address ourselves, not just self or ego. So I love this journey. It's amazing. In the moment, I'm still feeling like society is not ready. Society is not ready. They're gonna judge me. I'm feeling self-conscious. I'm gonna be proven wrong. They're gonna be, they're gonna take me down, and I'll be ostracized, and there are these like little fears going on in a voice. And even documenting out loud, speaking out loud, is still triggering that self consciousness. And I know that in the future, if I was to follow my line of reasoning and observation and inspiration, then the truths will set me free, kind of thing. But it's a very it's a very contentious effort. I'm battling with myself because I'm having this projection of what people will think of me, and how I will be perceived if I carry on this course of action or this course of thought. So I fear so much judgment, but the very fact that I'm even doing this and I started publishing and I'm only just starting to like mention it to people, if by chance they ask what I've been up to, it's scary as hell. But it's so real and it's so important. And people are used to just talking about one thing at a time. Keeping ideas and conversational topics standardized in a let's talk about this thing in the box and be very specific and talk about the details and blah blah, and then we'll in a very masculine way, in a limited way, and then we don't allow much conversational acknowledgement or like appreciation for the genius behind forms of high, forms of grace, forms of the creative higher energetic state. It's not been studied. Well, it is being studied, but it hasn't been given enough value, and that is being addressed. It's been a long process, but it is gaining momentum these days, and it's good to see.